All right, Steve, you
Thank,
may commence.
thank you so much, Bill. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this August 7th, 2025 meeting of the Norwalk Shellfish Commission. The chair notes that a quorum is present this evening. And has full attendance been taken?
It has thus far, yes.
Thank you, sir. And approval of minutes for the official July meeting?
I was not here, so unfortunately I can't.
I'll make a motion.
Yeah, so that'll put us under the quorum for that, so we'll just have to table that then until September. No problem at all. Public comment. There is one attendee, but I believe, Bill, that could be the recording service.
That's correct, it is.
You got it. Thank you, sir. Treasurer's report, Bill.
There's been no change in the account. The balance remains at $29,292.
Thank you so much. And in the secretary's report, in my stead, Bill and Amelia had the opportunity to meet Deep and discuss some of the permitting processes for the ongoing projects at Manresa Park, for the Manresa Wilds Park that's been proposed. And Bill, I know, has a couple of comments here just to follow that conversation.
Right. Just one quick, I just want to mention that Mark Hiller just joined as of
Hey guys.
32.
Great, thank you.
So there's a quorum now for the minutes if you chose to do so, Steve.
All right, let's just go back and do it quick, if you don't mind. So we have a motion from Pete on the minutes for the July meeting. And if I could, Commissioner Hiller, have a second, as Commissioner Pagler was not in the last meeting.
Second.
Thank you, sir. And all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you so much. I will move back to you, Bill. Thank you so much for that.
Sure. So I hope I can encapsulate this correctly. But anyway, so we did meet with them. It wasn't too long, but what we got out of it was that there's been no public involvement thus far. I think that's probably pretty obvious to everyone. But as starting in mid-September or early October, they will be beginning the process of the a permit for the, what do they call? Let me say it. Let me make sure I have this right. Oh, stewardship permit, which is long-term. During that permit process, they have to indicate the schedule of, identifying and how things in terms of any remediation, how it will be done and handled and so forth. That will also be part of the public comment process as well. So that's supposed to be sometime in the middle of September, beginning of October. There was a question about the oil tanks and why they're removed. And apparently there was no permit that, maybe that's the wrong way to say it, but because it was above the coastal jurisdiction line, it didn't impact anything that was required of deep. I hope I have that right. Maybe Jeff can speak a little bit more to that, but that was my understanding regarding the tank removal. They said anything beyond or below the jurisdiction line will, of course, require a lot more involvement. So that'll be part of this, the stewardship permit, because they'll have to schedule exactly how they're going to go about cleaning up things and the time frame and that sort of thing. So that was probably the gist of it. I know that's kind of short, but that was what I got out of it that was important.
Thanks so much, Bill. Good report. I'll move over to the committee reports and back to you, please, Bill, for the Department of Health.
Okay, so the rainfall for the month of July was 2.43 inches. Last year it was 5.4, and historically it's 3.96. So a little bit low this month. In fact, it's been pretty dry, as a matter of fact. There was one closure on July 14th as a result of rainfall in the exceedance of 1 inch. That just affected the CCA area, between 1 and 1.5 inches of rain. Of course, Cook's Ground, which is only greater than 0.5. No reported bypasses, although there was a sewer break on 8-12 West Rocks Road that was found. They repaired 15 feet of line. There was some breakout, but it didn't really amount to much, and it didn't get into any catch basins or anything. So I just wanted to bring it up because it did happen, but it didn't impact anything that I'm aware of. And I believe that should be it for me.
Bill, do you know if in fact there's any change to the monthly operational report for wastewater treatment?
Not that I'm aware of.
All right, I'll make an inquiry. I haven't heard in a while. And obviously no report here for wastewater treatment. As everyone knows, the Mayor's Water Quality Committee hopefully will resume with the new administration coming in 2026. Permits, back to you, please, Bill.
I have nothing on permits as of this moment, Steve.
Yep.
Sorry.
I spoke with Ben over at the vendor on Winfield Street, and he did express some interest in carrying the permits for the 2026 season.
Okay.
So maybe we can do what we need to do to sign him on and maybe get all that started a little earlier than last year, especially because we're going to need maps. And we'll just take a look if those maps need any updating because, we don't do them every year.
Okay, I'll do that. I'll work on getting him a W-9 so that when they process it, all that stuff will be squared away.
Great. And I'm happy to bring that over to him, Bill. He was quite amenable to helping us out.
Okay. If I could just mention, Steve, I would be good if we can start that process maybe in October.
Okay.
A number of calls where people were, not that they're upset, but they were wondering why the permits weren't available, the 1st of January, essentially. So I said, look, we're working on it. But if we can get a jump on it this year, it'd be helpful.
It was cold out there, but there must have been some diehards.
I guess so.
Yeah. So just in that line, so Pete and Mark and John, if you guys want to make any changes to the permits in terms of pricing, in terms of anything else, if y'all want to brainstorm that, and we can discuss it in September such that we can start rolling it out in October. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. The police and the Marine unit and Sergeant Bisegli, please, sir.
Hey guys, so generally pretty quiet on our end. Bill and Steve, as you know, we had that inquiry regarding the broken oyster steaks in the Wilson Cove Tavern Island area. Spoke with Cops Island. They're going to pull the 3 that were broken, and moving forward, we're going to keep an eye out for them. But they're not a hazard, as I understand it, because the way that they're constructed is they're designed to, first off, break when a boat hits, and they're floating on an anchor essentially, so they knock over. So there's no real hazard with them, but we're going to keep an eye out for them as we can moving forward.
Yeah, the initial concern was more, I guess, safety. They thought maybe someone could get hurt if water skiing or something. But if they're floating, I guess there's going to be there's not be much resistance.
No, so the way that I understand it in talking to Norm Bloom is they're tied off to a block at the bottom, and the stake itself is counterweighted. So it basically free floats and is free to kind of like flop over as needed. The reason they break off, they're obviously bamboo, and when a boat hits them, it'll just take the top end off of it, but that piece that's left there is still just kind of floating freely. So there's no real risk of anything.
Okay. Thank you.
Hey, I just had a question. I was going to ask Norm, but maybe you guys don't know. Is like with GPS and everything that we have now, what are they really demarking? I mean, how important? Yeah.
So my understanding in talking to them is they obviously mark the oyster beds. It's kind of a warning to others not to anchor there. They use different flag colors to denote what stage in the farming they're in. And he also puts them out in kind of questionable areas where there may be a rock or a hazard that's not noted on the chart. So he kind of uses them as a navigational aid for other boaters too.
Thanks for that.
Yep. And water temp is sitting at like 75-ish, give or take.
That's nice. Thanks for
Yeah,
the
it's nice.
advisory, Sergeant. Appreciate it, sir. And Norwalk Harbor Management Commission, Chairman Kibbe, if you would, please, sir.
Yeah, thanks, Stephen. I have an unstable internet connection, it says, because I'm on a boat, so just bear with me. I want to talk about one thing that happened in the last period is that the Harbor Commission, Jeff Mangles, with number of others, including Justin's team, the harbor master, completed a renovation of the campsites on Shea Island, which is something that's apparently they've just gone to hell over without a whole lot of supervision and nobody checking up on them. But we have a harbor master who's engaged in with that sort of thing now to follow up. And so we had 50 people, ex Eagle Scouts, come out to Shea with support from the Harbor Commission. It was an Eagle project for one of the scouts, but to really clean up those campsites. They put in signs to pack out what you bring in, trash, rebuild the fire pits, clean up all the crap out there, and it was just a terrific project. And I know that Recreation Parks has kind of abandoned the reservations for those campsites and the fees and all that. But I think there's if they could be maintained, it would be a better thing for Norwalk if they were available for people to utilize responsibly. And we're going to meet with all the constituents and once we get done with the summer, we talk about what to do going forward to see if we want to utilize all our resources, the Marine Police, the harbor management, all of that, the harbor master, to make those a really useful and a pleasant place for people to go and spend time in the summer, because it's one of the outstanding things that Norwalk has to offer, and it gets trashed and it's underutilized. So I'm supporting the effort to improve all that as one of the benefits of Norwalk Harbor. So that's my report for Commission for right now. Any questions?
Thanks, Alan. Way to go with that.
Yeah.
And comments, Mr. Stedman?
Thanks, Steve. I have a number of things I'd like to mention, and if it goes on too long, I'll try to cut it short. The first thing I wanted to talk about, and then also the last meeting, I was delayed getting to it, and it was over quickly, so I didn't get a chance to bring up some of these topics. But the first topic I wanted to mention, which is should be of interest to both the Shellfish Commission and the Harbor Commission, is the DOT's work on the Route 7 and Merritt Parkway interchange. On June 24th, there was a DOT presentation in the community room at the City Hall, and some of us just learned about that the day before through the Norwalk River Watershed Initiative, so we didn't have a chance to attend or participate. There was also I forget what they call it, an advisory group too that's met 10 or so times in the course of the planning. I believe they also met around that time. And on the DOT's website, there are two presentations, one for the advisory group and one for the public in the community room. And they talk about the goals for public safety and pedestrian passage and bicycle passage. But unless I missed something, there's no goal having to do with environmental enhancement or stormwater management. And that's disappointing, given the work all the work that we put in with the I-95 bridge, with the understanding that was setting an example for future work that drained into the Norwalk River, and that the work would be designed to result in not direct discharges, but into the river, but improvements to stormwater and water quality conditions. We missed the opportunity to comment on the environmental impact evaluation a couple of years ago, but we understand that there's a permitting process coming up. And so if you look at the drawings of the images or the renderings of what the road surface will look like between Route 7 and Main Street and the Merritt Parkway, it certainly appears that there's a really significant increase in impermeable surfaces. And then, of course, the question is, where does the drainage go? And you find maybe there is some place, but no discussion of drainage and how it's being handled and whether there's going to be an improvement in that. And I think that's something that we'll need to be involved with during the permitting process, because even though it's upstream of the harbor, of course, what affects the Norwalk River affects downstream into the harbor. So that's something, and we're working on a letter to DOT now. And I think Steve, we also talked about that as a joint letter coming from the Shellfish Commission. Then related to that, again, is the Norwalk River Watershed Initiative and the work to update the watershed-based plan, which going back many years was a project that was started largely with the support of the Shellfish Commission and the Harbor Commission for the purpose of trying to reduce bacteria runoff into the river and then ultimately affecting the shellfish beds in the harbor. And you know that both the two commissions contributed to one of, I believe, one of the outstanding studies that was done, and that was Professor Hart's study for the Shellfish Commission and Harbor Commission, which did a statistical analysis of the water quality data in the river relative to the water quality data tested and accumulated by the Bureau of Aquaculture in the harbor, and came up with the result that increases in runoff and bacteria in the lower, more urbanized part of the watershed, which of course is in the area where the Route 7 and Merritt Parkway is, that there could be a direct relationship found between the increased levels there and the increased levels in the shellfish resource areas. So the watershed-based plan is being worked on now, and there was not a watershed initiative meeting last month. Expect there will be one in the next couple of weeks. But the plan is for the consultant to have a public meeting in September to talk about the draft update of the plan policies. And I think both the Shellfish Commission and the Harbor Commission can have a good presence with nice displays at that meeting, which is planned to be at the Maritime Aquarium. And of course, I think one policy that we might argue for is that the urban infrastructure, including roadway improvements, should not result in direct discharges into the Norwalk River, and that those projects should result in improvements to water quality conditions. And again, it's very interesting that if you take down a house in the coastal area and put up a new house, you have to calculate the increase or the decrease in impervious surfaces, and if there's an increase, you have to mitigate that. So why shouldn't the DOT have to do that as well? The third point I wanted to mention is that the work to amend the harbor management legislation to clarify the authorities of the Harbor Management Commission in response to the court case in Greenwich several years ago. And we were fortunate to have legislators in other towns being supportive to not pass the substitute bill that DEEP had got others to introduce. And now we have the understanding, and John Pinto has been working on this through the Harbor Management Association, that DEEP will work with a committee of Harbor Management Commission representatives between now and the next legislative session to hopefully come up with a bill that both DEEP and the Harbor Management Commissions can agree to. And so that's being worked on, and we have a committee of 5 with a representative from Greenwich, Stamford, Norwalk, Fairfield, and the mayor of New London to be on that 5-person committee. So DEEP has agreed to meet with us, and John's trying to set up the first meeting now. Another topic that's of interest, I think, to both commissions, should be, is the proposed redevelopment plan that we first saw for 108 Water Street at the last Harbor Commission meeting, which would transform a currently a waterfront site on Water Street that's used for boat storage into a mixed-use development with 59 residential units. And interestingly, we heard the argument that boat storage is not a water-dependent use. But in looking at this, and we're going to give it a lot of attention, it's almost like we are revisiting history, because back in 1988, 1989 was when that marine commercial district was first established by the planning it was the zoning commission at the time. Was it? No, the Planning and Zoning Commission, and it was with some controversy because there was a group of Water Street business owners that either sued or prepared to sue the city for being overly restricted. And then when the Planning and Zoning Commission was eliminated, and there was a separate zoning commission, they did change the zone and made it less restrictive. And the DEP at the time sued the zoning commission for violation of the Coastal Management Act and the intent and the purpose of large purpose of it to protect water-dependent uses. So we're getting back to that argument, and of course, water-dependent uses have to do with the maritime history and the services of Norwalk Harbor. The other very interesting part of this now is, about 30 plus years ago, water-dependent use impacts were the principal impacts. Now we have the added concern about development in the floodplain, and of course, this is one of the most flood-prone areas in the city. And all these virtuous-sounding arguments in favor of resiliency. What does that really mean? It shouldn't mean, in the opinion of most floodplain managers, an argument to build more in the floodplain. But that's something that's coming up. And relative to that, interestingly, maybe you followed this Hamlet project on the Saugatuck River in Westport, where the developers had also bought half of Betts Island and Taft Pasture Island for what was described in the newspaper as $4.5 million. And it sort of reminds me of the development plans we've seen elsewhere, because that had a substantial residential component to it and also a commercial component with restaurants and shops. That was denied by the Westport Planning and Zoning Commission a couple of weeks ago. And so what happens to that will be interesting, because the developer had argued before the denial that if they were denied, they would come back with a proposal for 500 plus residential units in that area, which they could do as of right in accordance with the state's affordable housing laws. So that's another topic. I have two more. The Manresa Island work. And thanks, Bill, for the report. I'm sorry that I was not able to attend that meeting. I do have a relationship with Mr. Frigon, who we work with in other towns. And my understanding is that the stewardship permit talks about the responsibilities, who's involved, and as you said, the schedule, but it doesn't specify the means and methods for the remediation. That's done in the separate remedial action plans. So in the course of this sort of remediation planning, I know in Stratford with the Big Army engine plant, the stewardship permit was the subject of a public meeting in town. There was much discussion about it, and the Harbor Commission in Stratford had a prominent role in commenting on that. And of course, the other thing that's of interest is that whole peninsula is surrounded by natural shellfish beds that were designated by the Superior Court in the late 1800s. And I know that the Bureau of Aquaculture has, and I haven't talked with Mr. Carey yet this week, but he said he had reached out to the Manresa Island group in an effort to try to communicate with them, and as of last week hadn't heard back from them. But he has a number of questions about the impact of the proposal on shellfish beds, including whether the remediation requirements will address contamination in the marine sediments, or is only going to address the remediation of the property that was purchased by the private owner. And so that's another unknown question. But we'll look forward to reviewing the stewardship permit. And also, I believe some others probably did too, attended this community engagement meeting of the third such meeting on the Manresa Island project. That was July 13th, which was really quite something. We could hit into it now, but it's never quite experienced a presentation. It was held at the outdoor event space at Cove Marina. It was really interesting and led to other research on other topics. And then the last thing I wanted to mention is the Veterans Park Marina, which is going to move forward with being rebuilt. And the Harbor Commission now is going to consider a recommendation to Parks and Rec and the Common Council and the mayor to name the new marina after Tony Mobilia, who some of you don't know and some of you do know very well. And John Pinto is working on a what you call recommendation and the reasons for why we would request that marina be renamed in Tony's honor for all that he's contributed to the Harbor Management Commission in Norwalk. So that's the end of my long-winded report. But
excuse me, John. On just to be clear, the Harbor Commission has to act on naming that dock after Tony Amelia. It's not a, it's something that the Harbor Commission has to make a recommendation for, not Dr. Pinto.
That's right. No, but
Right.
he's writing an argument for doing so, and that he would present to the Harbor Commission for the Harbor Commission's consideration. Of course, it's not his
Right.
responsibility, but the reasoning for it and the arguments will be put forth.
Thank you.
That's my report, Steve. Thank you.
Oh, thanks
The
so much.
other thing, Steve, if I can just mention the other piece about all our development in our harbor that it's not really a Harbor Commission business or Shellfish Commission business, but the DOT's plan has eliminated most connectivity between what we call the Super 7 road and Merritt Parkway. It's all through traffic lights and stop and go and things like that. I've served for more than 20 years on the advisory committee to that interchange, and this is a kind of a surprise to find that there's no. We've always looked at that route as an evacuation route for South Norwalk and getting people out of harm's way. And with all the residential development that's going on the waterfront, I think it becomes more important to have a way for people to seamlessly get north and away from a possibly flooded Route 95 and all that. And so if you are interested, you as a citizen of Norwalk might want to raise the issue of the connectivity between the Super 7 road and the Merritt Parkway going east and west. That's what is really important. They're coming north off of the evacuation route and going east and west, which has really been completely abandoned now. So there's traffic lights to do that. You take 3 traffic lights to go east and 2 to go west. So that's just a added point. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Alan. And thanks, Jeff. Your reports always read like the newsletter for what's going on in the harbor. A request for a motion to accept the committee reports as presented this evening.
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Pageler, in a second.
Second, Pete.
Thanks, Mr. Johnson. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. Quickly on old business, we have 26 Shorefront Park. Remember, Mr. Bajek was in last month just saying that the parties had agreed to a 4-foot shortening of that proposed finger slip. I don't have any paperwork on that, nor any direct communication from any representatives of the South Norwalk Boat Club. So unless anyone has any comments, I think we just move on with that. Similar for 66 Calf Pasture Beach Road. I don't know that we have an update on that either. Let's see if
I'm
go ahead.
sorry, Steve. I do. John, when I sent out the Zoom invite, he wrote back that he's still waiting on approval for a commission to conduct a study. So he has nothing more to add from what we already had earlier. So it's kind of at a standstill for the time being.
Yeah, it'll be an old business, or maybe it'll fall off for a while. Moving to new business, we had the oyster steak inquiry from Mr. Nagler. I think it was covered pretty well tonight by Mr. Mooney and Sergeant Pisegli. Just one other thing to add, Mr. Nagler did request a copy of the map Mr. Stedman referred to tonight. That's the 1882 shellfish map that was approved by the Superior Court. That is, in fact, available publicly in the state library. And unless anyone has anything else, we've reached the end of the agenda for this evening. Questions, comments while we're still together, or as the song goes, see you in September?
I just want to mention, if there's anything that anybody needs, I'm on the water probably 5 days a week. I have my bigger boat, but I have a skiff that I can go on any of the islands, or anything that anybody possibly may need, please reach out. I
could use a bucket of clams, Commissioner.
Let me know when you want them. I got some spots. I got some good spots, but I'm serious. Anything that I can do, please reach out.
Thank you so much.
I want to be useful, so.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'm expected it'll probably pick up with applications. We'll start some site visits in the fall as usual.
Okay.
So unless there's anything else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I have something to say.
Go ahead, Pete.
On the oyster steaks,
Yep.
they're there for two reasons. One is if they're working the grounds, they have to stop, put a marker down for where they're working. And that's what they use the oyster steaks for, plus mount, showing their ground. So if you see two oyster steaks right next to each other, that means they were working that area. And sometimes they don't remember to pick it up.
Gotcha.
Just wanted
thanks.
to tell you.
Cool. Thank you for adding that. And we'll move on to September. So a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion.
Thank you, Pete. And a second.
I'll second.
Here, a second.
Yep, I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Hiller. And all in favor.
Aye.
And that'll do it. Everyone, enjoy the rest of the summer.
You too.
See you all in September.
Take care, you
Take
guys.
care.
Have a great
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Be well, everyone.
Be well.
Thank you.